All right, so let me try and see, let me try and bring up my screen so that I'll just dive into the experience. I know we have very business executives, busy people on the call, right? So I'm just going to make this as business-like as possible. I'm going to be sharing around the topic on elevating learning experience. And of course, what the constituent of what we do as L&D professional is learning, right? So if we improve on our products, which is learning, I think that will be a great win for us. Our product is learning. I want to see how we can improve that product every now and then. So I'm going to be just sharing some thoughts, and I'm going to welcome comments and interactions as we go. Please feel free to share along as well when the time comes to share together, right? Okay. My screen is up. In a few seconds, you should see my screen, and then I'll just walk us through on that. And like I said, the goal of this is that we want to ensure that in every learning we deliver, whether it's within a corporate system, whether you are an independent trainer or facilitator, or whether you work on training materials in instructional design, or whether you are the one delivering the curriculum, whichever part of the divide, or you are even in the e-learning component of it, creating platforms that deliver this experience, whichever part of the divide. We all want to be on the same page to say we want learners to have an exceptional experience, a memorable experience that they won't be able to forget for a long time. And that's what we want to do, right? Now, just a quick background to this conversation. I have some blend of experiences from three core parts of design. First, my background is in architectural design. I also have background in instructional design and curriculum design. So I've walked the path of design in for a couple of decades, and I understand what design means. One of the things I've learned about design is that design is intentional, right? Design is not a facade. Design is not copy and paste. It's not duplicate the slide and use it again another time. Design is very intentional. For instance, from architectural design, I learned that when a client comes to you, right, to design a facility, the architect does not copy and paste the last design he did, even though it was similar or almost the same. It listens to the client, it takes down the brief, and he interprets that brief with all of his experiences and technical skills into a bespoke work. And that is what he's actually paid for. And so the same in learning design. You may not have backgrounds in technical field of design or graphics or user UX. If we want to say, we want to learn the bit of learning design that we need to be able to give better experiences for our customers, our clients, and all the ends of our experience, right? Now, every time I'm in a room like this, especially with senior professionals, colleagues, an expert in the field, I'm always inspired because, it talks about the power of lifelong learning, right? You could have been in anywhere this morning. You could have been in several meetings, but you still chose to be in the room. And really, when I think about it, I look at a typical automobile, right? There's no amount of top up you can do to the vehicle that will take it for the rest of the week or the rest of the month. Even though you topped up in the beginning of the month, soon you still need to top up again, right? And the same is with learning. So even though we're expert in our field, we have this mindset to learning that, hey, learning is lifelong, and I will continue to need to learn. Another thought also is, when I look at the fate of an airplane, for instance, whether it's a Boeing or even if it's a small jet, 150 to 300 people are bound in this aircraft. But then all of them are all tied to the fate of two people, a pilot and a co-pilot, deciding the fate of everybody here. And so if we are leaders in our respective fields, we want to ensure that the kind of experience we are curating for clients, participants, trainees, are that kind of experience that will give them a good fit in their journeys of their careers, their businesses, whichever part of the value chain that we operate on, right? So really, I want to say thank you. We're going to do a quick poll, and then I would like to get your responses. But as a form of background, three things we want this experience to cover. When we are done from this experience, we want to see how we can understand the core elements of a transformative learning experience, right? Core elements, what makes a learning to be transformative? What makes that experience to be higher, top notch, beyond just delivering content? So also want to see, are there multiple modal learning experiences we can offer based on the context of learners and their preferences? And then, of course, this would dovetail into the final delivery, where we can deliver higher impactful learning, maximizing all the various methods we're going to look at, right? So I want us to do the quick poll. This is what you're going to do. You're just going to go into the chat, and then you're going to type. I'm going to read out a couple of questions, and what you do is type yes or no, right? And I want everybody to engage in this, right? If you're not going to engage in this, you might be missing a lot, and we're getting somewhere. But let's get started. So please get close to your chat buttons. You're going to type either yes or no. Are we ready? All right. Now the first question I'm going to ask is this. How many of us remember the exact agenda from the last team meeting that was held in your company 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, as the case may be? The last corporate meeting you did, do you remember the full agenda? Just go into the chat. I'm going to be going into the chat to read as well. Do you remember it fully? Yes or a no? Do you remember it fully? Okay, thank you, Dorcas. I like that. Thank you, action takers. Thank you, Dorcas. I see Adekunle said no. God bless, no. Ellen, no. Bashira said no. Olawale says yes. Temitope says no. Okay, great. So it looks like the no is winning it. Okay, now, so almost everybody did not remember. But if there was a comment that made you uncomfortable, would you remember that? Most likely you still remember that, a comment that was made from somebody, or, now let's go to the second one. Now, who remembers the specific learning objectives from the last training you attended? Maybe there were 3 or 4 or 5. You remembered each one step by step. Anybody? Yes or no? Let's go to the chat. Ellen says no. And by the way, there are no wrong answers, right? There are no wrong answers. Dr. Aliu says no. Aldo says yes. Okay, let's keep it coming. Ejiro says no. Who remembers it verbatim, whether they were 3 or 4? It looks like no is winning it as well. Okay, we are getting somewhere. Now look at this. We're getting somewhere. Now I'm gonna reel out the next one I want us to look at now. Now, who also remembers the song that was played the last time you went to a salon, whether to make your hair or to have a cut? You have to have a haircut. Do you remember the song they were playing in that salon? Yes or no? Okay, yes or no? Okay, I'm seeing a couple of here. Doka says yes. The song they were playing, they played a couple of songs. Do you remember all of them? Okay, I want us to please share thoughts. Okay, I'm seeing new persons. Dr. Olubumi says no. Okay, thank you. Can we keep it coming, please? Let's keep it coming. Femi says no. Okay. Can you remember the song they played or the playlist? No. Zainab says no. But let me ask you this. You agree with me that you remember the song that was played during your first dance on your wedding day? Who agrees with me on that? You remember the song that was played on your wedding day? I remember till today, there's a particular song my wife tells me that I forgot to give the DJ, and every time she reminds me on that. We played other ones, but she reminds me the one we forgot to give the DJ, right? We are getting somewhere. I'm going to ask 2 or more questions now. Now, do you recall 3 bullet points from maybe your H1 report in your organization? Do you remember the 3 bullet points from the last newsletter you had, or maybe the last report you did for 2025 so far? You remember 3 bullet points from it? Who remembers? Yes or no? Yes or no? Who remembers? Right? Yes. Okay, great. We just had a meeting. So I see a couple of yes here. So great. No way. All right. Okay, great. Now, great. This is interesting. Now let's get to the climax of this. And I want to thank everybody who has been participating in sharing thoughts here. I want us to get to to the climax of this, right? So that we can really get to see where we are going to, and how we can get there. We're going somewhere. Now, if you didn't remember all of those, now let me even ask one more, right? Do you remember the time you went to bed 3 nights ago? The exact time, 9:27, 10:11. Do you remember the exact time you went to bed? Exact time, right? Now, but most likely, maybe you remember the first time, the exact time your child was born. Maybe, when your first child was delivered in the hospital, you remember the exact time, you remember what you were doing, you remember, where you were, where your wife was, and all of that. Now, this is awesome. I'm really loving the engagement we're having in the room. Now, this one, HR should not cast us, right? How many of us can recite the company's value word for word? Most organizations have acronyms for it, but you can remember the exact word for word of your company's value, right? Sometimes it's difficult. Even the vision statement sometimes is difficult, right? But then think about it. You can remember the exact way you felt the very first day you resume in a new role. You remember the exact way you felt, right? This is great. And I've said all of this to share with us how powerful experience is. Learners may not be able to remember the content that we shared in the slide, but what they won't forget is how it made them to feel. Learners may forget the objectives, they may forget the outcomes, they may forget all of those beautiful content, as good as they are, but they will hardly forget how they felt during the experience. And so there's a conversation. The new evaluation is not just about what can you learn to say in your assessment of your learning. The new conversation is around how did they impact on people in terms of how did they feel. Even though MERELS part have not been able to figure out how much more they should assess experience, but then they found out that there's something much more beyond, completion rates and beyond, feedback evaluation that learners can remember. I remember many years back when I was in high school, we're having a class in that day, and I don't know what I did, but I think I did something wrong. And, my teacher just called me out and called me a fool, you fool, and then she gave me a punishment to do, right? But many of us have examples like that. Experience can be positive or negative. I couldn't remember every other thing she said. All I could remember was that experience. I can't even remember everything from maybe the first 3 classes of that senior class. All I could remember was just that day, that negative memorable day. We want to see how we want to replace it now. Rather than having negative memories for learners, can we replace them with positive, momentous, catching up moments that will make them really apply the learnings that we deliver in our training rooms, in our LMSs, and across board. So experience can be negative or positive. Really, it can be negative or positive, it can be good or bad. But we want to increase the good. We want to increase the good so that learners can come back, so that training budget will not be cut as the quickest thing to cut, so that people are even be the one reaching out because of how you made them to feel. Right? Now, this is interesting. I want us to do a reality check. And this check is really where we are all on this boat. Whether you are in instructional design, you are a facilitator, you are an L&D manager. For instance, instructional designers are struggling with, how to create contents that will move the needle. So they are being forced to just push in many contents within a limited time. People are not thinking about the experience. Trainers, you have tried using icebreakers and energizers, but you still see attention dropping. You still see, engagement dropping. People are not connected. People are on their phone, on WhatsApp, while you're training. E-learning developers are not left out. People click complete. They mark complete on the LMS that they've done the module, but it doesn't change in their work, right? We just replace, we duplicate the course we did last year. We change the colors, and then we feel it will meet the needs of the learners, but it's missing their heart. These are concerns we want to really trash. Managers also are not left behind. L&D managers are also trying to see how people attend, no doubt, but they find that nothing is really changing. Nothing is changing much. They are seeing how, they are seeing how there's great feedback, but it's not reflecting in behavior. So we want to see how can all of this, how can we elevate this experience and reduce all of this, in the training rooms and everywhere we're having learning experiences, right? Coaches and mentors also, clients nod their head during session, but they don't take the next step. So we come to discuss the same issue session after session. Training coordinators, are racing left and right, last minute changes, facilitator cannot make it, they slot in just somebody else to just fill in the gap. But then, it doesn't impact on the experience learners have. Even those evaluating also are struggling to measure the significant mindset shift and the dividends that learning is having. There's a lot of conversation around return on investment in learning, difficulty to prove that to management, and training budget is getting cut. How do we move the needle in all of this? What can we do? That's the question. What can we do? What can we do? How do we move learning from just an event to an experience that sticks, an experience that spreads, and the one that kind of sparks a transformation, a change? How do we do that? That's why we're in the room this morning. That's why we have dedicated this time to top up the experiences and the skill set we have on this. Now, I want us to do a quick evaluation and just think about it. The last time you traveled out or you went to the best mall within your vicinity, you were looking for something. You could have still gotten that item in a supermarket that was just two streets beside, but you wanted to go somewhere. Why? Because you were looking for an experience. We call that shopping experience. Shopping experience. While you're walking the aisle, you use the escalator, you are holding a trolley. There's an experience you get. You can get everything you need, 90% of it in one stop. They call it shopping experience. Not only that, you try to get medical attention, medical care. You go to the best of hospitals and clinics that's been your choice over the years. Why have you chosen that particular provider over the years? Are they giving different services from others? It's the same service. So why do you choose them again and again? It comes down to the same thing. It's called experience. This time we call it healthcare experience, wellness experience. There's the way the nurses, the doctors treat patient, and everybody wants to go there. Let's move away from healthcare. Let's come to worship centers. Whether you go to a mosque or you go to a church, why do you want to be in the room and feel that atmosphere? There's an experience you get. We call it a worship experience. So whether it's also you're traveling from Lagos to Abuja, you are moving from, or even the kind of vehicle you use, why did you choose that particular brand of vehicle? Why not another one? You were looking for an experience. You chose this particular airline out of 6 other options. Why did you choose that one? There's an experience they evoke. We call it travel experience. The stories, the emotions, the people, the contact you meet, the cutscenes, all of those experiences made you make a choice. Now, when people come into our training rooms, physical training rooms, virtual learning environments, our boardrooms, what kind of experience do they have? Is it the same as the type that learners, that people have when they go to malls, to centers, to hospitals, on the plane? It's an experience they like to come back in for. And so experience is everything. Even in the workplace, a workplace is not just about a desk or a computer. A workplace is now about culture. Everybody is now aware that it's not just a place. COVID helped us to understand that it wasn't about a place. It's about culture. It's about well-being. It's about workplace harmony. Right? And it goes on and on and on and on. This is experience. So where is learning experience in all of this? So if we want to elevate learning experience, we must be able to know where is learning in all of this. What if learning could spark emotions that increase motivation, work performance, so that it's not just a transaction, attend the session, fill the feedback form, and then we move on? What if learning could could be felt in a great way. In a great way. And these are things that, this is, for instance, in business, in sales, this same principle has been applied. You know, they say that people buy with emotions and they justify with logic. So there is something that we can apply as L&D expert and professionals, something we can apply. Let's take a case study of banking. In banking, for instance, leading banks have tried to do something to elevate what we also call customer experience. So, for instance, they create a cozy, welcoming bank hall. There's air conditioning inside. The colors are bright. You feel valued and comfortable walking in. They don't stop there, right? They also ensure that their mobile app is great to use. Online banking, seamless. They also do that. They also try to put in personal touches, like personalized messages. So you got a message from your bank on your birthday. They try to do that so they help you understand that you want you to feel remembered. They assign dedicated relationship officer who can help you with anytime. You can call, you can, and all of that. They can offer tailored advice. They even created a whole department for it. They call it a customer service department. Experience centers, as they call it in telecommunication. What about in learning? What about in learning? So here is the big question we're answering today. If banking, as an example, have created such seamless, personalized, engaging customer experience, why should learning be different? Why should learning be different? Why should learning be different? So we want to apply this in learning. We want to shift from training as transaction to training as transformation. This is important because if you want to take a note, please write this. Humans are emotional beings. So learning thrives from emotions, and then it is later supported by logic. And I'm going to give some examples shortly. So learners are thinking, how would this make me feel? So the conversation is moving beyond just answering a quiz, answering a set of questions. Learners are saying, we want this thing to get into our emotional, touch us emotionally. This is not going to relegate logic, but it's how the brain is designed. So learners want this emotional buy-in, right? Inside their heart, they are saying, oh, I just wish this facilitator can get me. I remember we were to have a training on recently, I think 2 weeks ago. So this client reached out, you know, and I kept answering a couple of questions, and she was surprised why I was asking a lot of questions, because the learning is meant to be tailored, even though we have taught it and trained it uncountable times. But we want to tailor it to meet the needs of the learners. It's an experience. So until I got all I needed to get, because we are the ones designing the experience. You are first a learning architect before you are a learning facilitator. You are first the architect, design the experience. Else, you get into the room, you start, and facilitators and the audience is feeling like this is not relevant to my challenges. They are feeling like, well, I don't think, and then they check out. It's a mental thing. They start to fiddle with things. They start to, and all of that. What if we can get this part and we can be able to tailor it to, you know, our audiences? For instance, let me use a body of knowledge. Let's say emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is a body of knowledge that has a set of contents that delivers that experience. However, if a learning designer or a facilitator or an instructional design, anybody within the L&D ecosystem wants to deliver that experience, the first thing would be beyond just finding out who needs this training. Yes, we do that a lot in the organization. The line manager has shortlisted that this person needs this training, and then this person goes into the room. But then we stop there after the training and needs analysis and all that. We stop there. How about if we get to know much more about who are these people who are going to be in the room? Even though EI has a body of knowledge, for instance, there are 5 major components of EI. We want to be able to say, where are the audience in these 5 components? Maybe, for instance, by the time we design the learning, you'll find out that the audience needs more emphasis on self-regulation. not even on awareness. They know that already. Not even on social skills, but the regulation part. That can only come from the perspective of designing it, knowing their needs. Yes, this is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take more than the typical, preparing the manual, sending it out, getting it out. It's going to take much more intention. And that is what that's the value designers get from their experiences, right? Somebody was asking, and as I started training, that was the first thing I said. And you felt, when you see your audience corroborate, then you know that you are getting a learner's buy-in. They are shortlisted learners, trainers for a session on, I think, something around attitude and work ethics. And in his mind, it was like, okay, so I don't have a good attitude. Is that why I'm the only one they shortlisted from this department? There were other people from other departments. So once I started that experience, that was the first thing I mentioned. And then, they voiced it out. And that was a good ground so that they understand that it's not because you have a bad attitude that you were sent into an attitude workshop or training, as the case may be. We want that buy-in. We want that buy-in. If this is awesome, please let me know. Put in the chat. Let me know this is good. Let me know how good this is. I want to show us a video now, and I want us to pick some things from this. Before that video, this is the nexus of this framework we are sharing on how we can elevate experience. And the framework is simple. The framework is that we want experience to trigger two things: the art and the ed. Not just the ed. The ed is the information. The art is where emotion lies in. Right. Now let's look at the video. This is how marketers design effective campaign. I'm going to show us a short clip right now. And we're going to see how those in advertisement, marketing, this is how they've been able to design their own campaigns. Let's see, what can we learn from this? After the video, we'll open the room and get some reactions as well. So let's watch this.
Strong. Bored in a week.
I could never be bored with you, babe. You're a real gift. You give my life a lift.
Oh, now you're gonna make me cry.
Step out onto your balcony. I want to give you a gift that's as priceless as you are.
A gift? Now? How?
Just step out to your balcony, babe. Thanks for bringing sunshine to my life.
Oh, Jerry.
Oga the law. This your cough and kata no go allow you come out this man for this case. Oh yeah, take. Vicks Blue go sama that your cough and kata wahala. Vicks Blue will get double action menthol. Go clear your nose and throat. Kia kia.
This Vicks Blue they work.
Yes, now.
You don't discharge my cough and kata sharp. My lord, now I go show say this man innocent.
Yeah. Discharged and acquitted.
Mama Blue, thank you. I swear I don't go do it again.
Mama be like you. No.
Babilo, one day I know say you go make us proud.
Generation to generation, Peak has been building the strength and dreams of Nigerians. Put your trust in Peak to grow a great future for you and your family.
I wish I had someone who can help with my dreams. I wish I had a friend in every way,
saying yes to my needs.
I wish
That I knew what it feels like to be free.
Royco now comes in an attractive new wrapper and has been improved to help your cooking taste even better. And the aroma is so inviting. It's impossible to resist. For tasty meals your family will find simply irresistible time and again, use new Royco seasoning cube.
to me, to you. It's up to us to make the world a better place. A place where we can learn, where we can dance, where we can live together in peace and harmony. It's up to me, to you. It's up to us to make the world a better place. To me, to you. It's up to us to make the world a better place.
Where are you going?
I check on the bus. I check in the class. I check every hour. I check. When I walk, I check. I twist. I check. I cover. I check. I hide. I check. Every hour. I check.
Check that always.
Check days are gone. No check. Check days are gone. I study. I sit. I stand. No check. Eight. No check. Eight. No check. Up to 8 hours long. On the bus in the class, I study. I walk. I play. I dance. No stains. No check. Eight. No check. Eight. No check. Up to 8 hours long. Eight. No check. Eight. No check. Up to 8 hours long. Stay happy always.
All right. So, I want to get some reactions. If you can just raise your hand, and I want to get to hear from one or two persons. Which of those ads were most striking to you? We almost cannot forget them. Which one? Okay, I see Fanny's hand is up. Let me see. Can you unmute from your end to share with us, please?
So for me, good morning, everybody. Good morning, colleagues. Well done, Doctor. Fantastic session so far. So for me, the Skybank adverts resonates. The Peak Milk advert also, and the Indomie one. Those ones, fantastic adverts any day. Skybank most especially.
Okay, so why did they stand out in your own view? Could you lay out on that?
So for me, first and foremost, the Peak Milk, maybe because I'm a football person, Kanu happens to be my football icon or legend. Fantastic. One day, it's motivational. It's speaking to encouraging someone.
So their ad met you felt, there was a way you felt watching it.
Yeah. The Skybank one, it was speaking like a bank, that is ready to, take up your needs and all that. Speaking to my emotion, like speaking to me individually. And the song, of course, passed the message very well. Basically,
exactly.
Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. Can I get a year from Ihidero, please? Go ahead, please, Ihidero.
Okay, I think it's about the same thing with the other speaker. Two adverts that resonated with me are the Skybank advert and that of Peak Milk. And when I watched it, I just remembered Skybank. Then I was like, wow, it touched me because you would see that they spoke trust.
Okay.
Asking us to trust them, asking us to believe in them. So yeah, so those were the messages I got. And again, that of Papilo, I loved the advert because it promised growth and personal development, I think.
I saw Dr. Aliyu. Let me hear from Dr. Aliyu as well. I saw two hands left. Dr. Aliyu, are you there?
Yes, I'm very much around. Good morning, everyone. I found all the adverts very thrilling, but the one that fascinated me most is that of VIX.
Okay.
The VIX,
right?
Because I usually catch cold a lot. So I'm very fond of the VIX variety. And when I saw that advert, it's like, wow. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Ali. Okay, lastly, I see Dr. Olubumi.
Yes, good morning, sir. For me, it's the always. I think maybe because I'm a girl or a lady at that time, and all of us were going for simple, and we saw this advert, and the pack was really tiny, and was like, oh, let's try this at that time. So it just brought that nostalgia that, this was how we started, and most of us moved to always, and I still remember very well.
Wow. Ibrahim, are you there?
Yes, I didn't want to speak. I was going to wait till the end, but then I wanted to talk about that VIX Blue. Apart from having cold, the power of that advert is so much that till today, every time I have cold, it's still VIX Blue, and it's all down to that particular advert. I swear I no go do them again. It's very funny. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much to contributors. Thank you so much. So now, let's now get to the climax of this experience and see if other agencies, advertising agencies have all adopted really finding a way to connect to emotions, increasing feeling so as to achieve their goal. How can we also apply that in learning, right? And so that's the place of connecting to emotion, right? So we don't just want information that doesn't touch emotionally, right? People are going to remember what connects to their feelings, even the tiny details, whether it was good or was bad, right? And to share this balance of these thoughts, is good we have this psychological background to learning. And the reason is there's a way the brain stores information, or let's say experiences or memories. Unlike a physical hard drive of a computer, the brain stores as what they call feeling drives. Right. So, and the feeling drives is what makes learning to stick, not the hard drive. So most times it's always the other way. We create such a long, bulky material because we want to just give content. And while neglecting that is the feeling drive, right? So even if you're not able to exhaust your material, you want to ensure that can the material first be designed in a way that it tailors to their exact needs, so their feeling drive is filled much more than the other hard drive. The other hard drive will not be, we will remember it in few years or months. Even some people, a week to a training experience, they can't remember the main content and all that. So we are getting a concept from psychology and neuroscience that for learning to stick, we need to start designing for the human heart, right? Which is where emotion is. So they talk about the amygdala, right? Which is like the security guard of the brain. So somebody starts to experience a training experience or any form of learning content. There's a gate, there's a security guard at first. And the person is waiting to see if he's going to open up or close the door, whether he's going to give an access or not. So what the person is looking forward to first is this thing is an unspoken rule. Is this increasing by feeling? Am I feeling? Is this really meeting any need? Is it making me feel curious to learn? Are there maybe you gave some starters or some background information, like the example I gave the other time when the person just sitting down the first 5 minutes were thinking, okay, so I'm bad. That's why they shortlisted me for this training. And that was the first thing I said in the first 2 minutes, that, you know, this is why we're here and this is the value we're going to get from this. And the person even voiced that out. And so once they get that tick, then it gives the brain a sense that, oh, this is important, it's priority, and then the heart is open. And if they feel it's boring, the other way also happens. They can keep the door closed, right? And so we can draw 3 learnings from this right now as I begin to close up this experience. One is that we start with the act, right? So yes, the content is there, but you want to repurpose the content and look for touch points that will connect to the art. It could be stories, it could be visuals, it could be problems. How many of you have experienced this? It could be questions that stir that emotional connection. People want that rapport first, to be on the same, you know, plane. And then we now start to engage the head, and then we start to bring in the structured content, module by module and all of that. And then we'll move to the hand. The hand is the final application, bringing in case studies, role plays, group dynamics, and all of that, right? So I try to put all of this together in an end-to-end frame, whereby whether it's an online experience you're delivering like this, or whether it's an on-site experience, the principles stay the same, right? So people are looking for empathy from L&D experts, trainers, colleagues. They're looking for professionals. So your storytelling is going to go a long way, right? And so that's a subset of this. It could be a fact also, a fact you share, or a personal challenge that connects to a challenge they're also having, right? It could be some relatable problems that you share, and then people know that, okay, I'm not the only one. And then, like I said, also, it could be a visual impact before and after. And people say, okay, I want the after. From this clip I saw, I want the after. And it could be some light humors, right? At different point in the experience. And then metaphors a lot. Metaphors and analogies. What will connect? So for instance, they talk about the constructive, learning is constructive, constructivism. And the idea is that adult learners especially are going to connect from what they know before to what they don't know. So I want to use an example of from what you know. Use that example, that analogy, so that I can now bring you to what you don't know. That makes the experience much more memorable. I could also get to use provocative questions, what if questions, and just take the curiosity, take the imagination, imagine if, and all of that. That also brings them into the future state of what we want the learning to achieve. It could be experiments, as the case may be, right? So we are really the architects of learning, right? Because the goal of learning has a lot more, just like this competency framework we're looking at today in this webinar, is around learning design. There's a lot in designing learning. And in my own perspective, I feel the design part has 70%. The delivery and development is just the last balance, 30%. The design itself determines a lot more how much value we get from the learning experience. So let's look at the end-to-end, and I'll close from here and take any questions we may have. So we are going to apply all the principles that are there, no doubt, but let's look at the end-to-end design, a typical end-to-end design for a learning program. We want to see, for instance, from the first point that learners get an invitation to a program, a training, we want to ensure that we don't just make it a generic email, dear all, or just a bland registration link. We want to design a system, a workflow where it can be personalized. There are training programs we've done where we even try to create a week onboarding so that people can settle into the program really well. And we are giving you mails one day after the other, and so you are getting to really acclimatize into what this is going to offer. For instance, one time there was something I did whereby I recommended what learners can do to get the best value. So I called it how to make the best of this experience. Number one, do about 5 points. get a dedicated journal for this. Number 2, turn off distractions. No matter how valuable this learning experience is, if you are juggling 3 things together, you can't get the best of it. It's just going to be 1/4 or half you get from it. So learners get to understand all of those. It's personalized to them, and then it starts the experience from them. So the experience is not in the room, whether virtual or on-site. The experience starts from those communications from HR, communications from, training managers and all of that. And even when we now get into the platform, whether it's an online platform or a physical venue, just like the example we saw, for the case study of banks, they ensure that, customers come into a very lovely environment. So that also must be put in place in a typical physical experience. Temperature must be good. It's part of the experience. There are touch points of the experience. These are touch points of the entire experience. One time somebody came into a training room, and what spoiled the experience was the convenience, right? These are touch points of the experience. In an online environment as well, it's the same as well, right? So can learners navigate easily? So for instance, e-learning developers, what we do is that we give a short tutorial or an explainer video on how to navigate the LMS. We give a short explainer video on this is how to navigate the LMS. So whether it's the first time for that user or not, we don't want to assume. So we give the background on this is how to go about it, and then everybody comes on the same plane. Same thing also. Pre-session engagement. This could be in form of maybe orientations or a meet and greet, whichever works, where people can really be, they can be prepped up, right? Especially this works especially for maybe cohort-based programs or a week-long experience retreats and all of that. It's not just a one-day, one-time interaction. So we are giving that prep up and all of that teaser. It gets people engaged already. Okay, this is the value we are to expect and all of that. Even a simple reminder may also works for a pre-session engagement. It let people know that really you have a good setup, right? And then you have put you put them in mind, right? Because again, many things can come in the way. So you just have last reminder. The person wants to learn, doesn't mean that the person doesn't learn, but that last minute reminder does a lot, as the case may be. And then of course the session starts, the experience starts. Again, the experience has started before the session, but now within the session, the experience continues. So we want to ensure every part is taken care of, whether it's the tech part, whether it's as simple as even the auditory part of it. There are persons who had a bad experience from learning, not because the trainer was not good, but they just couldn't hear the trainer, right? The PA system wasn't good, or things just didn't go as so that part also creating all the risk mitigations to help that we come in well, right? Now the content delivery, for instance, if we are making use of a multimedia solution, maybe like a slide, if it's dense, it's affecting the experience already. I've had participants write in their feedback and say that one even said he was about to sleep, but what kept him at the edge of his chair was the presentation slide. So as little as that is, it has a part of the experience on how you can carry on learners across board. Whether we're using polls, also breakout room if it's online, scenario-based engagements as well, right? Now, learner connection must continue. We must sustain it. It's not just for the beginning. We must continue to show that connection with the learner as we continue the experience, that I understand, I feel, I designed this thing for you, so I understand every part of you. These are 3 major challenges I know that audience within this experience are going to face. So at every point in time, you are reminding them of that experience and then how you are connecting it to the structured learning they are getting, so they feel connected all through. And of course, breaks come in handy, especially for a full day training and all a longer experience and it's not rushed. I know it happens a lot. I'm guilty of it as well. The long break is supposed to be for 1 hour, but we crash it to 30 minutes. So crash to 20 minutes because we have to finish, the content and all that. That could be something that affects the experience that they have. So it minimizes networking. The bulk of the experience does not stop in the room where they are learning. It could be a contribution from somebody. It could be somebody they meet up in the, while taking, tea break that really cascade that, right? So we are really looking at all the touch points end to end. And of course, again, maybe when they're back from break, we're looking at the activities they do, right? What will sustain them. For example, the typical circadian rhythm of the body comes in, some want to sleep, what will keep them engaging so that the experience is still sustained. We don't want a typical bell curve that comes down. We want to sustain that experience. Workbooks come in here, worksheets come in here, group dynamics come in here, and then they are up engaging and putting part of it. And of course, post-session in the sense that the experience also does not stop within the room, right? So emails to follow up. Some organizations also assign coaches and learning mentors who can follow up in the next weeks and months to see how learners put this to work, apply it in their work and all of that. I think that also is a good part of experience. So this is giving us a good idea of, it's giving us a good picture of the business value of a typical learning design, that maybe you have just been charging for the facilitation alone, but this helping you to understand that this is a whole end-to-end spectrum, right? And lastly, but not the least, talking about learning outcome learners will get. Of course, this would have been defined even from beginning, but we want a situation whereby learners are really prepped on what to expect, so that they're not just, sometimes cannot even show an outline of, but at least letting learners know what is going to happen and what they're going to get comes in very handy. So they know that this is really targeted at them and it's not generic, right? So every material we have two parts, the learning outcome and the objective for the experience, right? I think I'm going to open the floor for question, but before we go, I want you to please go to the chat and let's do a quick touch point from this experience we've had. What part of this experience, I mean, this is something we have crashed within this webinar, but look at it. What part of this experience was most memorable to you? I mean, we're all picking from these as experts in the room. So you just go into the chat. What part of this experience, was it the poll we had at the beginning? Was it the video we saw? Was it the stories? Was it, which part? I'm going to go into the chat now. Which part of it will you say, it has been fun, it has been engaging, it has been enlightening, but what part of it would you say was most memorable to you? What part? Great. So somebody says the analogies and scenarios. Now, so I want us to be looking at the responses and also type in yours so that we can see how this connects together, right? So that on the other end, I wanted to do this intentionally and be vulnerable to do this so that as experts in our own niche, we can also see our touch points that will give people a memorable experience. Somebody said, taking us through the end-to-end. Amazing. Thank you, Chinye, for that. Adekunle says the videos we saw, that advert video, beautiful. Okay, somebody said the video as well. The video, somebody said the poll and the video. Thank you, Farouk, for that. Clara says the video. Zainab says the analogies and scenarios. The analogies and scenarios, the video we saw. Somebody said the presentation technique. Thank you, Adekunle, for that. I think that's also something to note. The videos reinforce the learning. Now, this is beautiful. So I wanted to just do this also so that we can see how every part of the entire experience matters a lot. And it determines how elevated it can be for learners, right? So you may not be, at the end of the day, people may not remember every content you shared, but they're going to remember how you made them to feel. They're going to remember how you made them to feel. That's something they're going to remember. And for some people, 10 years, 20 years, they can still remember. If you flash back all the days in the university, you can't remember all the 4, 5, 6 years, but you can remember 1, 2, 4, 5 memorable encounters, one in the classroom. Those ones stood out because they were designed. They were experiences. They were not just content or lectures that were delivered, right? And this is where we want a conversation to be in. So you might not have an architectural background like I do, or an instructional background, or a curriculum background. Every L&D person must be able to design. We are the architects of learning, and we must be able to design the experiences for our learner. I want to say big thank you to NITAD for this opportunity, and every one of us who has taken that time to be here. I'm sharing a gift for everyone on the call here as my own thank you. You get that with the link on the screen. And so thank you so much, everyone. I don't know if there are questions, but I'll just be in the lobby to take if there are any.
Wow, 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 wow. Please let us put our hands together for the facilitator for excellence, Dr. Abraham Owoseni. Let's have those emojis coming. Let's have those comments coming. If you have enjoyed this as much as I have, please let's appreciate the man. Let's appreciate the man. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, everyone. Please, let's see those emojis coming. It deserves more than we are giving. I have really, really, really enjoyed it. For somebody who has a very, very short attention span, Doctor, thank you for keeping me engaged. I was looking forward to a wow session, and I got super wowed. Wonderful. I've been to your website. Still waiting to see my gift, but I'm definitely going to get it. I think you have given us all a gift with the nuggets, with the scenarios, with the learning, with the experience that you have shared with us. We thank you so much. All right, so we're going to be having question and answers very soon. But before that, I'm just going to do a brief recap. I'm not saying that I'm going to be stepping into doctor's shoes, but I'm going to try my best to just, put things nicely together for us. It's not about design has been an intentional activity. It is not about using old slides or about using old lesson plans. You want to design learning experiences, then you want to be intentional about it. You want to tailor it towards the needs of the people that you want to train or that you want to teach. And you come up with a bespoke, in his words, learning experience for them. Then he asked some questions that touch upon our experiences in recent times. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? And one thing that you can never forget, the song on your wedding day or the time your child was born. I would never forget that day when my son was born. It was 4:20 a.m. I remember, because that was a positive experience for me. And of course, there will always be negative experiences along the way. But the point there is that whether positive or negative, people will never forget the experiences that are powerful. And as learning and development professionals, as teachers, we want to make our learning experiences to be something that is powerful enough for people to always remember. You talked about the variety of experiences. That's why I said the analogies are the part that I love the most. The shopping experience, the travel experience. Why would you leave the woman selling bread beside your house and you want to go into, ShopRite that is so far away? The AC, the movement behind the hire, the picture, the scenic experience that you want to get, and then our learning experiences can also, be like that. Because people actually learn with their emotions first, and then they justify it by logic. That is what the man said. So you want to make your experience to be something that triggers people's emotions. Start with the arts. Then, you want to relate their experiences. Then you go directly to the... Yes, please? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes,
somebody saying,
go ahead.
Okay, somebody saying hello, sir. So I was thinking maybe I wasn't audible. All right. So, okay, my flow has been broken. Okay, so you go from the heart, connect them first. And when they're invested, then you go with the more, hard-coded learning that you want to give before you migrate down to the hand. And that talks about you not starting with the affective domain. And that is what many people neglect. Affective domain, then you go to the cognitive before you now go back to the psychomotor domain. Emotion, as I said, is the gateway to attention, and people learn not using their hard drives most of the time, but their feeling drives. So you want to populate their feeling drives, before you do the hard drive. And the best of learning experience, as I've said, is the one that starts from the end. Then it gave us that beautiful end-to-end learning design, which I wouldn't, I'm sure that was the last part. So that will still be fresh. But overall, beyond teaching us what it means to, have engaging learning experiences, Dr. Abraham has also delivered an exceptionally engaging learning experience. Thank you very much, Dr. Abraham. Questions? If you want to ask a question, I'm sure that the learning experience itself has been engaging, but if you have any particular question, you might want to, raise up your hand and I'll call your name from the participant list. Am I seeing hands up?
There are some questions in the chat box already.
Okay. No hands up, but I will check the chat box now if there's see those questions.
Let me see. There's one I've seen, although I think they are coming in very quick, but there was one I saw. Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim.
Okay.
There's one. Okay, so this one says, please, in case we missed the question, I don't know if you could repost it.
Dr. Abraham, there's a question from one Dr. Solomon Ihidero. That was the first question.
I got the one from Dr. Solomon. Dr. Solomon said, from your perspective, what is the single most overlooked factor in creating a truly memorable experience for learners? Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Solomon, for asking that. I know sometimes when it comes to most single, it's always a very difficult thing, but it may not be the most single, but here is one that I've observed over time, which is assumptions. People assume a lot, right? And again, because we are experts in the field already, we just feel it's the same problem client A had that I did 3 years ago that client B we have. I've even done it 3 times this year, so it's not going to be different. So I see that as something that as expert professionals overlook a lot, because that is actually needed to give a very memorable experience. It ties with letting the design connect with their needs. And I know sometimes that we don't have the opportunity to always do this, but if, for instance, if you're an independent consultant or an external trainer, we're trying to ensure that you get as much as you can from the service provider about the needs of the audience, because that will help in your own design, right? Except if that has been done on the end of this provider, but most times I find that it's not also. So that assumption is one. If that has been done, next thing I see that is also overlooked a lot is time. It takes time to do a design, and I'll go back using an architectural design for an example, and I also use instructional design as an example. In a typical architectural design, there's a difference between a professional and a quack. The difference is time. The quack will just go to, and the quack is not even a professional in the first place, but because maybe he has been in the room, he has seen how they've done it, will assume and pretend to be a professional. So it goes to something previous that has been done, changes the name of the client, and does all those facial changes, and then presents it as a design. That doesn't move the needle. If you drive past the road, there are buildings that make your neck to turn. The ones that make your neck to turn, they spend time to design it. Same thing in instructional design. You want to create such material, such content that learners are engaging with every now and then. There's a lot of design that goes into it, in the kind of questions you ask, in the titles you even give the modules, in the way everything is sequenced, right? That also is something I've noticed. So I hope those two will help regarding that question.
Right. Thank you very much, Doctor, for very compelling response to that question. Do we have any other hands raised? No hands raised. Reject the chat box if there are other questions. But if there are none, somebody's asking how we get the certificate. There is a attendance link that has been sent. But I'm also sending the information about how you can get the certificate in the chat box now. So you can fill that attendance link, and at the end, find the account number to pay to for the... Okay, Mr. Farouk Anibaba has a question. Please unmute yourself and go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Farouk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Good morning, Dr. Owoseni. Really nice presentation. My question is a bit, direct. I already have logged it in the task force and advisory. So, in your experience, sir, what would you say are the most overlooked opportunities for L&D to influence organizational culture?
Can you?
I'm not sure. I couldn't hear the question.
Okay, he said, what are the most overlooked opportunities? So, but I
okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, this is better.
Okay, this is better. Okay, so my question goes thus, sir. I was asking, in your personal experience, what would you say are the most overlooked opportunities for L&D to influence, organizational culture? L&D is the hub of training, and by extension should be able to influence organizational culture. So how do you think, as L&D professionals, we can do that within organizations?
Thank you. Your explanation made it clearer now. Thank you, Mr. Farouk, for that question. So two things are tied there, right? People are going to reward results, right? And I mean, I've seen even from comments in the chat, what we have shared today ties into the 3 domains of learning, right? Affective, Mr. Ibrahim, highlighted that a lot as well, cognitive, and then the psychomotor. Right? It can start with knowledge, it can start with experience, but it's going to lead eventually into results, tangible results that will show in performance, that will show in behavioral, that will show in attitudinal. So when our learning design, our learning experience begins to change the attitude, begin to change the performance, that will give a lot of, it will to influence culture. Because again, culture, now, of course, there's a caveat to that, which is the second part to this, to my thought on the question. The first part is we playing our part, right? If it took years to build an habit, it won't be changed in a few hours of a training or a few days or after a month of a training. So, I mean, that's why, for instance, in TV, they call it TV program, because it took time to program a particular thought, belief. That's why the media is so powerful. So if we want to change that same kind of habit or culture, let me use habit first so that it's personal before we come to culture as organizational. When we talk about habit first, then that's within my locus of control. Within my locus of control, I can begin to expose myself to a new form of content, a new form of learning. And over time, I will begin to see the changes in my own experience, in my own results that I get. That's the goal of learning, because people know that it's going to change, it's going to lead to transformation, development, and all of that. Now, the second part is when we're now bringing it to an organizational part, that now needs some other controls into it. For instance, culture is not just going to be driven from learning, it's also going to be driven from leadership. And by leadership here, I mean the corporate leadership of the organization, right? If this is the culture that we want learning to drive and learning to result in, we want to ensure that this is not just going to be culture on paper, but culture that is lived out, livable experiences that I'm seeing my line manager is living the same culture we wrote out. That changes a lot of things. That I'm seeing it in meetings, I'm seeing it. That changes a lot of things, more than even hours of a training. And so that we talk about a lot of informal learning there. So informal learning drives, I feel that's one thing that has been overlooked. Informal learning, peer-to-peer learning will drive more of organizational culture as well as structured learning. Does that help, Mr. Farouk?
Mr. Farouk, has your question been appropriately answered? I think from my perspective, that's, answers the question appropriately. Okay, so any other answer, any other question from anybody else? I can see no answer. Just check the chat box to make sure that there are no other questions. Okay. And I can see none. All right, then if there are no other questions at this time, then I must, on behalf of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, the leadership, thank our facilitator for today, Dr. Abraham Owoseni, for a very, very wonderful learning experience with you. Thank you for benefiting us from your wealth of experience, and we look forward to having you speak to us on some other occasions in future. Thank you so much, Dr. Abraham. At this point in time, I would like to invite the Registrar and Chief Executive of NITAD for...
MC?
Yes, sir.
I am the one to take it. I will just round up.
Okay. Oh, all right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Before then, I want to know whether the chairman, ATC 2025, is on the call, so that we can give her 2-3 minutes to talk to the friends and professionals on the call before I will now say the closing remark on behalf of Mr. President. Chairman ATC 2025, are you on the call? Chairman ATC 2025, are you on the call?
Yes, I am here. Good.
Yes, just take the call for 2 minutes so that I can round it up so our people can go back to their offices.
Oh, all right, that's fine. Thank you so kindly, everyone. Thank you all for being here from beginning. Dr. Owoseni had nailed it all, and then everyone is refreshed. Yeah, this is like a tip of the iceberg, right? The whole pudding is at the conference. So if you are yet to register for the conference, it's just happening in 7 days' time. I'm sure we are all aware. So if you are yet to register, I will send the link again on the group so that we can just pick it. Nobody should be left behind. No one should miss out on this one. It's the annual trainers conference and it's happening just 7 days away at Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja. The theme of the conference is Learning Reimagined, aligning people, performance, and technology for national transformation, right? And as L&D professionals, we are all to hear from top-notch speakers, industry leaders, and network within ourselves so that we can all embrace and get more thoughts, knowledge from one another. We'll be discovering lots of cutting-edge strategies that we can use to grow our works and what we do in our businesses. Let us be also part of this conversation that is going to shape the future of learning and development in Nigeria and beyond, because I understand that even NITAD is not just Nigerians that are members here. So it will be a lot of engagement with the keynote sessions. We have panel discussions, practical workshops that we'll be having, technical sessions, and all. Please, the seats are filling up fast. It's just 7 days away before we are closed out, right? Please, I will drop the registration link again. Let's meet in Abuja and make this history all together. I look forward to having everyone on the call at Abuja. See you. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. On behalf of the president and chairman of our council, Mr. James Bullis, FITD, I want to say a big thank you first and foremost to Dr. Abraham Owoseni. You are terrific in your delivery. The topic was very impactful, and I'm sure people will retain the experiences you share in their heads for a long time. So on behalf of the president and the governing council, I want to say a big thank you to you for the way you have handled this topic. And I'm sure when we call upon you another time, you would answer us. Thank you so much. And my second, the second round of thanks goes to the MC and the anchor person. Thank you. You did very well, and I appreciate you on behalf of the president and chairman of council. And finally, to all our colleagues, friends, those who have not joined, but do partake monthly, and professionals too, L&D professionals and HR. And I could also see some of our past presidents on the call. I say on behalf of the president, thank you for gracing this occasion. We appreciate you, and I'm sure after conference or in the next month, you will also be with us. Thank you so much. And let me also, on behalf of the president, invite us either virtually or physical to Abuja, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center next 2 days by this time. Thank you all. I wish us all a wonderful time, and God bless us. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. As the Vice President has said, see you all in Abuja. Thank you.